Hello there everyone, this is Mayor Jason, the Gaming Tycoon, and well, today we have another Transport Fever developer blog update. So, again, I'm skipping the obligatory Transport Fever blog because there's really nothing much new in there aside from Game Workshop being mentioned, which we already know about. So, aside from that, I did take a look at this video again before, and all I can say is it's amazing. But again, I recommend y'all watch it for yourself, because as usual, this is going to take a while. So, without further ado, let's get started, shall we?
Hello, this is Tom, Community and Product Manager at Urban Games, and in today's third developer video blog, I would like to talk about modding, a very important and extensive topic in Transport Fever. We invested a lot of time and resources in the development process to make sure modding is flexible and comprehensive, but at the same time very accessible. So it is possible for every player with basic tools and knowledge to change the game to his needs and wishes, or just create new content and add it to the game.
Alright,
There are four
so just something I want to point out. I mean, he's basically explained what we'll be seeing, but unless I stand corrected, that looks like steel to me on this little pallet of wood next to the station tracks, etc., etc. Could be concrete, but it looks like steel to me. At least a very basic, far away shot of what it would look like. Up close, of course. But that alone already makes me happy. I mean, sure, they did render a lot of this in Photoshop, but two cargo types, as I stated a bit last time, you can mod those in. But let's keep going, shall we?
And add it to the game. There are four categories of mods, which also can be combined and also bundled into packages like DLCs. The first category are vehicle mods, so it is possible to add new vehicles to the game or adjust existing vehicles and change their properties. The second category are script mods, which allow for changing the behavior and balancing of the game. One classic example is a sandbox mod, which removes all costs from the game or adjusts the overall balancing. The third category are mission and campaign mods, which makes it possible to adjust existing missions or of course even add own missions and even whole campaigns. And the fourth category, following up our last developer video blog, are construction mods. In today's example, I will substitutionally for modding show what a construction file can consist of and how easy it can be changed, adapted and also extended.
Alright, so as he said, these are the four like basic mod types you can do. You can do vehicle mods, script mods, campaign mods, and construction mods. Clearly he's going over construction today. We've already seen vehicle for the most part last time with the like not vehicle editor, but whatever you want to call the last tool we saw. But these two in particular, I did read a few articles recently about these two that mentioned some slight things, and from the sounds of it, these are on like a Railroad Tycoon 3 campaign and scripting level, which, as far as transport games is concerned, maybe with exception of the A-Train series, which I haven't played too much, is the highest level of campaign and scripting you can do in a transport-based game. So, oh man, I spent maybe half my time back in Railroad Tycoon 3 map and scenario editor, so expect to see some interesting campaign mods coming from me in the future, especially since I already had a project that I wanted to do based around Railroad Pioneer and recreating that game. This is going to be helpful. Let's just say a lot of that will be brought over to Transport Fever by me. But let's continue.
As mentioned in the last video, constructions are all buildings which change during the game, like industries, railway stations, airports, harbors, and all the terminals for buses, trucks, and trams. In this example, I'm constructing just a single building without a special purpose. Also, this is covered by the construction format and can be done with a few lines of code and a 3D model, which adds this building to the menu. With some additional lines of code, functions can be added to the building. In this example, I've added a platform and tracks as well as a street connection with some additional definitions about where the train has to stop and where passengers will wait for the train to arrive. This simple building was converted in a few steps into a train station. In the next step, I'm adding a terrain modification. Via construction files, it is also possible to change the environment. In this simple example, I'm just flattening the ground. It is of course also possible to raise or lower the land or adjust it to a minimum or maximum height, and also the shape of the adjustment can be set to an arbitrary polygon. In addition,
Alright, so let me back up a second. Yeah, the first two is really nothing new. I mean, I kind of already figured you'd be able to just place a normal building on like the first example. But as you can see here, you can now incorporate terraforming into the building, or well, buildings and stations, etc. And I really enjoy this feature. My only question is, will we be able to just terraform maybe part of this, like say the track areas only, and have the front of the station like conform to the land? Because I see that front section of this rectangle being a bit annoying if you're in a hilly area or something, and you only want the track area flattened out. But this is useful in so many ways. I mean, you can clearly see it's been leveled out and all, but as well as the fact that we can also change the shape of how this is flattened out. So I can't wait to see that. I'm hoping we can also just say the height of buildings and stuff as well, because that would be great. But let's continue.
polygon. In addition, terrain textures can be added to the construction, and also of course here it is possible to use arbitrary shapes and also mix different textures. As mentioned in the last video, constructions can also be changed after they have been built. Here I added an option to toggle a roof over the platforms. These options are arbitrary parameters which are sent to the user interface, and when the user selects an option, they are evaluated in the script and change the construction accordingly. A lot of
Alright, so actually, hold on.
applications are possible with these options. Not only decorations can be added to the construction, also functional things like any.
Well, I'll let him continue that part later. But as you can see, we could also do other things like, say, texture the front, so no more gaps and stuff between, say, the station and the street and all. I wonder if that's dynamic, though. Like, if I were to extend the street, it would extend to where the station platform, say, ends, or a bit beyond that. That would be a neat little feature. Personally, I don't really see a difference between these two stations back here from each other. Nothing major. But that's a nice feature. And also, like he showed off earlier, I find it a bit interesting he actually managed to click the road for this menu to come up. But as you saw, he added platforms and things, so that's a nice little detail. I hope that's stock for all the in-game stations, and maybe even platform specific. Like say if you just wanted the platforms in the middle to have covers and the ones on the side not to. That'd be cool if we can integrate things like that as well.
The desired amount of train tracks and platforms, additional entrances, bigger storage areas for industries, and also complete constructions like street crossings. Also, mixing different types of constructions in the same file is possible. In that example, I'm using the same train station, but I added tram tracks and a tram station. But not only different types of stations can be mixed together in one construction.
Alright, so I just wanted to pinpoint that this is awesome. I mean, we already knew that we could do stuff like this, but it's nice to actually be able to see it being done. Though one thing I do kind of wish, I kind of hope that cars will be able to use things like parking lots and all, so instead of just disappearing, they just come up to your station and then passengers can come out and stuff. Even if it's just visual, that'd be kind of cool if they added something like that.
Many different types of stations can be mixed together in one construction file. Also, completely different categories can be added together, like in this example, a train cargo terminal, which has an option for an whole industry.
Now this, when I saw it, I was like, stop trolling us. But no, apparently, uh, things like buildings just in general can be combined with just about anything, apparently. Like, as you said, this is obviously an alpha cargo station, if you look at the texturing. But instead of putting a station with an industry, like most people would assume, you can just attach an industry to just about anything now, apparently. So, obviously, the opposite would have to be true as well. But I see this being a just an indispensable feature for certain buildings, like maybe mega complexes or something. Uh, and wow, I can't wait to test to see just how far I can kind of push this, and with what I can push it with, because apparently that's just about everything in the game.
To be attached. Finally, I would like to add that tracks and streets, which are included in these construction files, can be very complex. So it is absolutely possible to add crossings, switches, or of course curved tracks to the construction file.
So yeah, again, not only do we have the multi-station type, we even have pre-built track designs, which is a godsend. I also wanted things like this because nothing's more annoying than trying to replicate the same design in certain areas where you know it's functionally sound, but then having to reconnect all the tracks and all because, you know, that's what you have to do in games like Train Fever. But ah, this is simply amazing. Just simply amazing. I want it now.
All the files for modding are very accessible, and thanks to Steam Workshop, it is very easy to share and install mods. So far an example what can be done with a few lines of code with construction files. We would also like to talk about modding missions and campaigns at a later point. Meanwhile, as usual, we are happy to receive your wishes.
So that's pretty much the end of this developer blog anyway. I really enjoyed what they have done with the modding in this game. I mean, it used to just be next to impossible to add some of these things. Like, there are barely any station mods for Train Fever. But now you can just add anything to practically anything. And yeah, I'm quite simply amazed. I actually expected to find more details than what we saw here, but quite honestly, uh, almost anything is possible. Transport Fever, from what I'm seeing. So if I made a video on that, we all would be here till next year. On that thought alone, but uh, I really can't wait to see the missions and scenario editing. That's going to be a league on its own. I mean, there were some advanced details explained in the articles they posted earlier, and that I reposted in the Steam forums, but that's a topic for another time. But this has been Mayor Jason, the Gaming Tycoon, also known as JM764, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, everyone.